Well, Lepore, a question that I have for you, okay, because the Winnipeg Jets have been trending in the wrong direction right now.
Shambles.
They've lost 5 games in a row, and there's a chance now that actually, sorry, they've lost 6 games in a row, Lepore. So
Mm.
there is a slight chance now. Both the Habs and Jets have 6 games left. Montreal is only 2 points behind Winnipeg. So there's a chance that Winnipeg could fall down to that fourth and final playoff spot in the North Division.
Yeah.
Would you rather play the Jets in a first round series based on the way that they've been trending at the moment? Nikolai Ehlers is out of the lineup. Like I said, they've lost 6 games in a row. So what are your thoughts on a matchup against the Jets? Who would you rather play at this point?
I'm going to start off by saying I consider myself an individual who can admit when they were wrong, as much as it irks me. But I think we should ask ourselves broadly, have we been wrong about the Winnipeg Jets? Because we haven't shied away from complimenting teams on this podcast, and probably more than any other team over the course of this season, we've been giving a lot of high fives to the Winnipeg Jets. Like, they were the team we thought had the most high-end talent. They have goaltending. They have good coaching. They have balance. That was the team, if you ask me. It's funny, even like a couple weeks ago, what's the team that could beat the Leafs without something crazy weird happening? I would have said the Jets. Because again,
And I was right there with you.
They have the talent, they have the centers, they have the goaltending. But what's happened over this 6-game stretch really is shocking, because typically when I'll call them good teams go on losing streaks, when you do look at the underlying numbers, they didn't play that poorly. They just happened to lose. Like their percentages happened to be all negative at one time, and they lost in games. Like we pointed, well, before this win streak for the Leafs had, was it 5 in a row, 6 in a row? The Leafs had lost 5 in a row. But you looked at all the games, out shooting their opponents. They're not getting goaltending. It's just the perfect storm of like everything bad happening. But you look at the Jets, and it's not even about the underlying numbers to me now that, like, the more I think about it, their body language sucks. Like, everyone seems so like every time that camera goes on the bench, it's just negative and like a weird feeling. And that to me is so much worse in the way that I feel like that's so much harder to overcome. Like, let's throw numbers out the window. Let's throw, like, bad goaltending out the window or the puck not going in. When you can look at a team's bench and they look like, you have to tell me the score, show me their bench, I know they're losing. And I also know they're not going to win tonight. And that sounds kind of like corny and cheesy, but it's true. It's true. Everyone's shoulders are slouched. And I don't know, man. Like, you asked me today, I'd rather play Winnipeg to sum it all up.
That's
like
totally
that team.
Fair.
Yeah. Like you have, and again, as a neutral, you're playing the Leafs are a team whose confidence is up here. And for those listening, my hand's above my head. And the Winnipeg Jets are a team where the confidence is at the floor. So, like, to me, that's where something shocking or that underdog thing happening is almost an impossibility, because if you don't believe you can do it, you're not going to do it. And that's what they look like right now. They look like they've lost even before they step on the ice. Whereas, like, you play that Montreal, that Oilers team where, and again, I'll say it again, ignorance is bliss. If they think they can do it, maybe they can do it. But right now, if you ask me, give me the Jets.
Yeah, you know what, Lepore? And like I said, both teams have not been trending well. And even though the Montreal Canadiens have won 2 games in a row and Cole Caulfield just scored the overtime winner, you heard those numbers I mentioned. The Habs have been outscored 49-31 over their last 15 games since the Gallagher injury. But man, oh man, looking at the Winnipeg Jets, I mean, this has been really bad these last 6 games. So they're 0-6, and Lepore, they have been outscored 26-9 during this 6-game losing streak. And then when you look at the teams that they've played, it's the 3 other playoff teams in the North Division. So this team has showed late in the season against the other teams in the Canadian division that they are getting totally outclassed right now. And listen, I know losing Nikolai Ehlers is monumental for that team because he is so good. He plays an amazing 200-foot game. that guy can do it all. So obviously losing a player like Nikolai Ehlers is going to hurt, but the way that I've seen the Jets play the Oilers this season, I don't know what it is. The Oilers are just swimming in their heads this season.
Yeah,
They
they are.
can't figure out that team. And maybe that goes back to the point that you made, Lepore, about the body language. It's like when this team plays Connor McDavid, they're just like drawing dead. It's like they just can't figure out how to stop that team offensively. And that's a big issue. And obviously, you've seen the way that the Leafs have handled them. You know, they just beat the Jets a couple of times last week. So, man, oh man, the way the Jets are playing right now, and especially with Ehlers being out, that's a team that is not looking good. And honestly, at this point, as a Leaf fan, Lepore, give me either one of them
Yeah,
because
God.
because right now it looks like the Leafs and the Oilers are the class of the division, and we can later in the podcast I'll poke some holes in the Oilers when we get into a conversation about that. But right now it's you got the Leafs and Oilers, and like you said, Lepore, I think we were both wrong about Winnipeg because we were singing their praises for almost the entire season. But when it's mattered most, late in the season right now, you're playing these other playoff teams and you're getting completely dominated like that. It's not a good look.
Yeah, I always make the joke about like sometimes going like full Don Cherry Rock'em Sock'em mode when talking about teams or games. And when we had played the Jets, I looked at those games and I was sitting back and that thing popped in my head of if these two teams play each other in the playoffs, we're the Bruins. And I never thought I would say that about a Maple Leafs team, or at least like this soon after what we saw in recent years. But I had that thing of kind of like what I mentioned before about Montreal, how like I could see them beating us. Like I could see those weird things happening. But I was watching us against the Jets and I was like, no, like, and it sounds weird, but I look at the two teams and I ask, besides maybe Ehlers, who can be a little bit of a pest, who are their assholes?
Yeah, I mean they don't
They don't
really
have
have
that.
anyone that scares you.
They don't have that. Like obviously, like, we mentioned the talents there, but again, like watching those, I was like, no, like there's gonna be close games of that weird thing. And I'll even say it as a Leaf fan. There was always that thing in me watching those series against Boston where it's like, we're gonna lose because there's that thing you can't put your finger on that Boston had over us, where they're getting under our skin, they're gonna get away with bullshit. And watching those games, and again, I can't believe I'm saying this as a Leafs fan. Guys like Simmons, Thurl Thornton's taken on, Bogosian, Hyman, just being fucking annoying. And like there was that one play where like Ehlers was on an island, like during that whole conversation with Thornton, where it's like no one stepped in for him. It just was a bad look. And like I thought in that moment of like, I couldn't see this team beating the Leafs over a 7-game series. Like I'd be as confident essentially as I could be over any playoff team because they miss that thing. Like any team you play in the playoffs can have some talent and some ability to beat you. But there was that thing, and maybe, and I'll say it, like I guess I was wrong, like I'd missed it all year. But in those games against the Leafs, it really jumped out at me that like we would beat them because we're gonna be in their face. We have the guys that are gonna be pricks. So over 7 games, I just couldn't see it right now. And like, so I will say, yeah, I'll say it again, give me the Jets. Like I would take the Jets over the Habs right now.
Yeah, they really do seem to be missing that ingredient. And I like how you brought up how it kind of feels like the Leafs Bruins series, how there was always that one thing the Leafs were missing. And even you brought up the whole, Ehlers Thornton confrontation. Even the way that like Simmons was getting in the head of Pierre-Luc
Yeah.
Dubois. He was like
Yeah.
chirping him on the bench and then, roughing him up after the whistle. And you could just see the look on Dubois' face. And this is like the number 2 center, the big trade they made, shipping out Patrick Laine to get PLD. And he's just like, man, oh man, like these guys are tough. They're in my face. And he just didn't look comfortable in those games last week, man, against the Leafs. So I think you're onto something there. There's just something missing with that team. And we've talked about all the talent they have in their top 6. You got Connor Hellebuck, the reigning Vezina Trophy winner. There's some holes on the blue line, but yeah, at the end of the day, this team is trending in the wrong direction right now, Lepore, and it does not look good.
And like you said, with the way they've played Edmonton, how that looks like that's going to be the first round, that's not good. I mean, they have some time to clean it up, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see if the Jets clean it up. And Paul Maurice is a great coach, so we'll see if he's got anything up his sleeve to kind of energize that group and get back on track before the playoffs.